Hi, we wanted to share with you some thoughts, actually the thoughts I was having in discussion with my brother yesterday, revolving around how we work with something that's uncomfortable. And I've touched on this in a lot of my classes and trainings over the years, and kind of more of a non-dual approach. And we were specifically referring to something we had listened to and heard from a non-dual teacher, Rupert Spira, who we both really enjoy listening to. And one of the kind of topics that came up was how you relate to that thought or feeling that may be uncomfortable, or that you may wish for it to go away in some fashion. Many times if we become a little bit more self-investigating or inquiry, we may see that when there's something uncomfortable, we tend to look for something else to do, whether it be more work, or go grab a glass of juice, or go grab something to eat, open the fridge. We find some way to distract ourselves. And kind of a non-dual approach is really two facets there. One is kind of what I was learning and teaching early on in my more tantric years of life when I was studying Kundalini Yoga. We would turn to face inward towards that content or whatever we were actually troubled with. So if there was a fear or an anxiety that came up, we'd actually embrace it and welcome it home. Very much how Rumi has done in his poetry and writing. He welcomes that friend, he calls, that's somehow troubling him, and welcomes him to the table. So that way of opening ourselves up to what is, and in that process, there's almost this friendship, not asking for it to go away, not asking for it to be removed from your life in any way, but really to sink in with it. And in that process of actually being with it, you may discover the sensation in your body, wherever that tension may be held, because it's energetically held somewhere. You may sense that it's actually bottled up, maybe in the chest or the lungs or in the tummy, but there's actually no pain or struggle with it, if you actually dive into the sensation of it. And that begins to kind of have almost an aha moment, that there's nothing to fear, there's nothing to be alarmed about in that moment. It's just what's happening. And that other aspect, the non-dual approach, is the witnessing aspect. And this kind of leads into that, where you could actually immediately, when you do have something troubling you or bothering you, you could remember who you are, the nature of who you are. You could follow the root cause of the I. So I am feeling this, I am such and such. You could trace back to the I. And in that tracing back to the I, you could ask yourself the quality of that I. And that quality of I is presence. It's always here. It's never changing. It's never stained or hurt by anything that occurs in our lives. So but in both processes, you kind of end up one either turning directly inward towards the I, which is kind of a Ramana Maharishi practice, or Nisargadatta practice, and the other is more of a tantric approach, where you actually turn to face that which is maybe troubling you in some way. And in that turning facing towards it, there is this unconditional I that begins to surface. So in both situations, there is a kind of almost an unconditional surrendering to what is. Whereas much of our life, we're taught to resist, and we're either taught to avoid pain in some way. And when we would discover, as we go into those sensations of pain that we perceive to be pain, so I have a thought that this is scary, or I have a thought that this anxiety is overwhelming me. If we settle into the sensation and where it may reside in the body, we discover that sensation and that tension held there isn't really painful. It's actually just a sensation. And I have that same sensation if I'm excited to see a friend, or I'm excited to be with my lovely Soshi here. You know, and at the same time, I could have a sensation of anxiety if something's troubling me. I'm afraid I may not do well in something. I may be not good enough in something. So another fear comes up, but that tension that's held in the body, it actually has the same, I don't know how to really describe it, but you may find that it's not bothering you at all. That's been my kind of my self-discovery, my self-inquiry on that. So when we do our Tuesdays classes, we focus on this. It's a primary kind of topic that we're usually jumping on, and people bring it up in our conversations in our Tuesday classes. So I usually guide us through something of this sort, and then we also do a Q&A. So we'd love to see you if you ever wanted to do it with the support of other like-minded folks that want to join you in that. And we'd love to take any questions that you may have even from this discussion right here on YouTube. So much love to you all and peace to you all. Ciao.